I started Single Daddy Daily right after my divorce, and I'm ashamed to say that I did it for all the wrong reasons. There was a lot of pain, and after my divorce, I felt like I wanted to share that with the world, to give a voice to all the anguish and sorrow I was feeling. I needed a catharsis, and I used Single Daddy Daily as my vehicle. I soon found out that this wasn't the approach I needed to take.
Our mission at Single Daddy Daily is to take the struggle out of single parenthood and create a community where people can find the tools to thrive as single parents. Strong, resilient, happy kids is always the goal as parents, a goal that can become more challenging when facing parenthood alone or in a blended family.
Divorce and single parenting is more and more common now than ever. The challenges that we face as single parents permeate all aspects of our life.
We want to be the #1 resource for single parents out there who are having a tough time navigating the waters of single parenthood. We cover everything from parenting strategies to dating after divorce, finding love after divorce, and creating a new blended family.
Divorce can rob us of those feelings of acceptance, and it took me a while after my divorce to learn to love and accept myself. To be honest, some days I still struggle with that. We all do. Single Daddy Daily is still my place of catharsis, but now it's from a place of love and not anger.
Hurt people hurt people. That's why the cycle of hate and hurt continue to live on unless we are the change as parents first that this world needs. We are here for you, and this is what this community is all about. Don't just survive, thrive. The Single Daddy Daily way.
We are a movement, we are a tide, and we are rising. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Single Daddy Daily podcast with your hosts Drew Manning and Evan DeMarco. We are in coronavirus quarantine lockdown day number 7,632,912, or at least that's how it feels to most of us. As we're kind of sitting here quarantined all across the country, we decided this could be a great opportunity to start bringing on some guests that we've been excited to have, kind of friends of show, people who've reached out to us, people we've reached out to really start talking about some stories that have been a little bit different than what we've kind of highlighted in the past. And so with that in mind, we are super excited to introduce today's guest, Ms. King. We were just talking about all of our collective kind of, matriculations all over the country. We've got an Austin, we've got a San Diego, we've got a Utah, we've got a Northern California. But we are super excited to have her on the show. I think we're going to get into a lot of information about how she's been able to, transition across the country with her life, her boyfriend, her husband, ex-husband. Ashley, thank you. Sorry, I think I've had too much coffee today. I'm now I'm just chatty Cathy.
You can never have too much coffee.
I'm still working through my protein shake.
Awesome. Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to our audience that might not know Ashley King. Obviously, you are currently in San Diego, but tell us about your.
Okay, so long story short, I am a mom of 3 little boys. That's like the biggest job I got right now. I started out in Northern California with my now ex-husband, and we moved to Austin. And I pretty much was a stay-at-home mom for the first 5 years of our marriage. And I realized I wanted to do something other than take care of kids. And I started an online training business. And it turned into an in-person business in Austin. And it developed pretty well. I felt like the community really supported me. And we all collectively, when we got divorced, moved to San Diego in January. So I feel pretty lucky that me and my ex-husband have a wonderful relationship, and he's a good guy. So it's gone really, really well, and I'm just restarting my business out here. Obviously, I'm online, so I'm not really affected too much from the COVID, going on. But it's still hard, I'm having to learn how to homeschool, which is probably the most difficult part.
We just did an episode about that. Yeah, we just did an episode about that. So we'll have to get some of your tips and tricks to how to navigate those waters easy. First question is, why did you guys move to San Diego from Austin as a divorce unit? Because I can relate to that. We did the same thing. I'm curious to know why.
Really, I was in a long distance relationship, and as funny as it sounds, my ex-husband brought it up to me. He said, look, you could have a really good family unit for our children, and I'm not going to probably have that anytime soon. And you could see what a good guy my boyfriend Curtis is, and I think that he just wanted that for his children and his kids, and you could see that not just I was happy, but my children were happy with him.
Wow.
So, and he likes San Diego. And honestly, he was kind of sick of being in Austin. A lot of people knew me from my business, and he's like my ex-husband. So he was like, why don't we just fresh start in San Diego for him too? So it's gone really well, and he loves it here too, and my kids love it.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about, what you learned as or going through your divorce and um, how hard that was for you, your kids, and what you learned from that experience?
I hate to brag because a lot of people go through a lot of stress, and it kind of creates a lot of stress for the kids too. I feel like I've been really lucky. I'm thankful I have a thing for really good, nice guys because I feel like most girls like the bad boy, and I don't. I like the good guy. So it kind of just worked out. I mean, of course, we all have kind of things that we go through with ex-husbands and ex-wives, but I feel like we both have like a level-headedness, and we were first parents more than anything when we were in our relationship. So when we got divorced, there wasn't a lot of crazy emotions. It was more like, okay, well, we're still parents, and let's do what's best for the children, and we keep that the forefront of everything. So I'd
How
say
long were
that
you married, Ashley?
7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we got married relatively young. I was a mom, I guess, kind of young for nowadays, but I feel like we established a really good parenting relationship our whole marriage, and our kids are alive. So they're the most important. So
Where did that come from as far as when you guys went through your divorce, staying amicable? Does that maybe like did you or him have a parent or parents that went through a divorce that were amicable, or did that just come naturally?
I honestly came naturally. I feel like my ex is just not a drama person, and I truly wanted. I mean, I felt like we got divorced. I asked for the divorce because I wanted him to be happy. I just realized more and more that we were just different people. Like he's a homebody, I am an extrovert to the max, and I wanted him to be happy. And I felt like he was getting dragged along in a relationship that he didn't want. And my parents are still together, so I can't attest to that. He has
Hmm.
a stepfather he's had since he was 8, so which was pretty much his father. So I feel like, and he's had good relationships with his, his real dad and all that. So I don't know. I just think we're pretty level-headed people, and I care about him. I want him to have the best life for him, not just kind of trying to make it work just for the kids. We could still make it work separately. So.
So, looking at some of the information on your website and kind of listening to Katya, our producer, talk about it, it sounds like it wasn't always kind of a smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about some of the issues that you've had in your past and how you've kind of brought yourself to this place, which seems pretty incredible.
Yeah, so assuming you're talking about my sobriety, it
Hmm.
I got sober at 22. It seems like such a crazy age to get sober, but I had a lot of people in my families, both parents' sides, that dealt with a lot of addiction issues, and I think that the reason why I've been able to kind of stay sober is because number one, I'm a parent. Like I got to do it for my kids. But truly, in the beginning, I was not a parent. I did not become a parent until I was 25. So it was for me. And I felt like I was happier without it. And I did not see myself surviving going down that route. And instead of not talking about it, I talk about it a lot. And I'm very open about it because I feel like it's a very judgmental atmosphere when people are in addiction. And I think that the only way you can actually help other people is to let them know that we don't have to judge each other. Just talk about it. Everyone goes through stuff and we all have to work through it. And I'm proud of it because now I can kind of help other people because of my sobriety, I got into fitness, and now that I'm helping people and empowering people to get fit and healthy. So it was a good thing.
What were the steps you took to overcome your addiction?
Um, I really kind of isolated, which was really hard for me because I'm a very social person, but I isolated and kind of just started from scratch and worked on myself. And then within a month or two, I started to acclimate myself again socially because the biggest thing that I see with people trying to get back into kind of social life is trying to understand. It's a very awkward situation. Once you're not drinking, then you're like, what do I do? How do I act? Everyone else is drinking and partying, and you're like, this is weird for me because I'm such a like easygoing, like very social person, but you feel like you don't know yourself. You just completely lost yourself in it. So kind of acclimating to like a new way of socializing. And then I kind of got a kick out of people, they were just so surprised. You're 22 and you don't drink? Like, it was like I was the abnormal because everyone else at my age was just, it was very socially, acceptable to be partying and drunk. So I was the weird one in the situation. And I got a kick out of that people still thought I was drunk when I was out because I was having fun. I didn't use it as an excuse not to like socialize and have fun and still be young.
Yeah. Go ahead, Evan.
Well, I was going to ask the completely inappropriate question, which I always do anyway, is so you were sober at 22, and how long ago was that?
That was 14 years.
Wow.
This month. Is it April yet? I think one more day.
It's April Fool's.
Is
April
it
Fool's
really?
Day.
Okay.
Guess what?
Yeah.
They just found a kit for coronavirus.
Day, right?
April Fool's.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
I'm going to
yeah.
fail for that one.
It's been 14 years, and once again, I don't try to brag about my sobriety in the sense of it. There's people that struggle every day with it, but to me, I feel like if you can find it sounds so cheesy, but your purpose and your happiness, then like it's not something I struggle with every day. Like you have to. I found that I had a bad vice, and then I tried to figure out something to not only fill my time, but put a good vice in there, and that was fitness, and that was helping people, and that really makes me happy to truly empower and help people. And I felt like I've just continued that over the years. And of course, being a mom is very fulfilling and challenging. But I feel like I've kind of replaced my bad vice with good vices, and so therefore I have like a reason to keep staying sober and happy. So
Gotcha. How did you know it was a problem or an addiction for you? I mean, at that age, if you're 22, you started drinking when you were 21. You only drink for a year.
That was the hardest thing.
How did you know it was a problem?
Like I said, going back to the sobriety thing, it was like I didn't want to give up having fun and partying and socializing. And at that age, going to clubs and like being young and having that experience, I was like, do I really have to not have that time of my life where I can just be free and have fun? And I've made it a promise to myself, like I said, to like, you know what, screw that. I can still have fun. I could still go out there and be myself. And quite honestly, I was fun and I had so many friends and I was the life of the party before I drank. And so why can I go back to them? And that was a big like idea point when I was 22, realizing, okay, I had fun before I started drinking and I can go back to that point. And I did. And I felt like I was even better person because of it. As far as realizing I had a problem, it was more like people just didn't want to be around me, and I wasn't used to that. Like I felt like I had a lot of good friendly relationships, and being that young, just understanding, wow, other people in my family have this problem. I see it. I don't want to be there. I want to be happy, and I wasn't. And so it was like, this is what I need to do,
So this is an interesting question because I've talked to other people that have had issues with alcohol that have overcome it in the past. Is there a middle ground? Is there a middle ground for you, or is it 100% on or 100% off with being sober? Is there any time where you're like, hey, I can have a glass of wine with my boyfriend and there's no like going off the deep end and getting, wasted? Is there a middle ground for you? But I know it's different for each person, so I'm just curious to know, is that something that is a possibility for you, or is it just either I'm 100% sober or otherwise I'll go off the deep end?
So, quite honestly,
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because there are people, like my ex-husband could drink, rarely drink.
Mm-hmm.
He could drink a drink or two. I can't even comprehend someone as an alcoholic drinking a drink or two and stopping. Like, how do you do that? I can't even eat like one piece of chocolate without going off for it. Like, no joke. Addiction goes in every part of your life, by the way. It doesn't stop. It just like manifests in other things. luckily, like I said, I chose fitness, which is a very healthy vice.
Yeah.
But no, there is no halfway. When you're an alcoholic or you're addicted, you have to self-recognize that there is no in-between point. I literally had to tell myself that is poison and I just can't have it. I can't
Yeah.
do it. There is no in-between for me. And that it's not like there was one day where I was like, oh, this is kind of not bad for me. I'm not
Yeah.
a good person right now. I need to stop. It was like a year or two of that battle back and forth. Well, no, I could do it. No, I could
Yeah.
do a little bit. There's no like one day it's just done and over with. So it's a struggle even to come up with that. No, I just can't do it. I'm not even myself. So
Yeah, and this is why it's different for each person and everyone listening. It's so applicable to the fitness industry. You know, I work in the fitness industry, and some people, you know, they can eat, you know, cake or chocolate or sugar and stop themselves at one and be like okay with it. Versus other people, if they have one bite of it, it's just this trigger for them, and they go down this rabbit hole of like months and months of like, okay, you know, when am I going to get back on track? And so for some people, yeah, they literally can't have certain types of foods that are trigger foods for them because it will cause them to, you know, be a snowball effect downhill for them. But for other people, like, you know, most people, they can have a piece of chocolate and be fine with it. Like, I'm cool, like I'm good. But that's why it's so individual, and you got to find out what your happy balance is, like what that looks like for you.
yeah, and one thing I did realize through sobriety too is that I actually get a kick out of like having discipline.
Yeah.
So I challenge myself constantly, and I think that kind of checks my addiction issues. Like I said, the drinking doesn't manifest, it's other things. It's getting addicted to, it's usually foods, it's usually sweets. But that discipline, I kind of find it a challenge and I like it. Um, it just like makes me happy to feel accomplished about, and it sounds so silly, like avoiding chocolate's an accomplishment, but for someone in my addiction, like it really is. It's the same thing as a client, like having addiction issues to food, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, and you kind of have to view it as like you're proud of yourself. That's another thing that I kind of tell myself every year as sobriety, moves on for me, is that I am proud of myself. You have to do a lot of self-reflecting, like look what you've done, look what you've accomplished, look how happy you are, look at your children, and you go, I'm doing the right thing, I need to continue this.
Awesome, guys. I want to interject here, and I want some feedback on this. So, quarantine life has caused me to come up with some different culinary ideas, just to keep myself from losing my mind. So, speaking of sweets and all that, this was my idea. I put it in play the other night. It might be the best thing ever, but I want a ruling on this. So, sliced up banana covered with almond butter, then sea salt dark chocolate, and I put that in the microwave for 45 seconds, then covered it in rice checks,
I'm
and then
sold.
honey over the top of that. I got to tell you, there's just no other way to say it. I might have had a mini orgasm when I ate this.
Wait, so let me, you kind of broke up there. It was bananas, almond butter, sea salt, and dark chocolate, and you warm it up in the microwave. Correct?
Then covered it in rice checks because it's gluten free, of
Oh,
course.
rice checks.
Rice checks, and then smothered it in honey.
Oh, chocolate, peanut butter, honey. I know you didn't do peanut butter, you did almond. Like that's
Yeah.
that on anything or alone. Like I'm sold.
Yeah. It's definitely not keto, but it does sound good.
Are you keto?
It's definitely, I'm more of a keto guy myself, but yeah, I do keto pretty much most of the time. But quarantine life is interesting because I have two little girls and I don't make them eat keto, but I try and get them real food, whole foods. But you do have to get creative. Like, what did I have yesterday? Sardines and a cup of bone broth. Like very boring, but like these are all shelf stable foods. Nothing like almond butter and dark chocolate, but companies send me keto cookies all the time, and we did a little taste test with my daughters because I know if they like it, most people are gonna like it. But if they're like, oh, this is keto, this is gross, then it's one of those treats that not a lot of people are gonna like. So we did some taste testing yesterday on our TikTok video, and it was fun. So
Did you find right?
did what?
Did you find some that you liked?
Yeah. A company called Fat Snacks. They make these little brownie bites and these cookies, and they were pretty good. But Evan, I might actually try that recipe with my daughters. I don't have any checks though. Is that necessary? Could they do it without the
It
checks?
gives it a nice crunch. So there's,
Yeah.
there's that,
Interesting.
it's a sensory thing, right? And obviously developing a lot of food products over the years, it's always about the sensory properties, right? And almond butter, peanut butter can be kind of thick. So you just add a little bit of that crunch to it, and it's not a bad way to go.
I do have keto granola. That could be the
That would be
crunchy.
fine. Anything, anything that just, you've got, it's about the experience, right? The flavor
Yeah.
profiles are impressive, but once you add the experience to it, that's where it's at. Well, we could talk about this forever, but let's talk a little bit about quarantine life, Ashley. So you've moved to San Diego with your boyfriend. You've got your 3 boys. You said your ex-husband lives about 10 minutes away. How are you guys kind of dealing with this quarantine existence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's hard between co-parenting for us is getting daddy to make them do homework in general. And now with homeschooling, I hate to bag on him, but it's like the only thing. It's hard.
He's definitely listening to this episode.
I'm
I'm just
sure
kidding.
he needs to be on. He's just thinking that. But it's like got to give him a break. You're like, look, he's doing the best he can because he works from home. He has
Yeah.
conference calls all day. My job is very flexible, so I try not to get on him. But it's the reality of this is we're gonna have to start homeschooling. I mean, we don't know if the kids are going back to school. So
Yeah.
when they're with me, I try to sit them down for at least an hour and a half a day, and try to do some of this work because we don't have anything structured right now. But they are going to start grading and stuff by the end of this month, and I stress that he's not going to be able to keep up with trying to sit our kids down and do work. I have a son that's going into middle school next year, so we struggle. I have that stress in the back of my mind of it's going to be hard for him to sit there and get our kids to actually do the work when we're gone, but we're a team. So like today after this podcast, he has a presentation interview for a new job. And I told him, drop off the kids, let me help them do a little schoolwork and I'll hang out with them. That way he can focus and daddy needs a good job and daddy needs to be happy. So I'm going to do whatever I can as a team to help each other out. So he's going to drop off the kids later. So
Nice. And what is your current parenting plan?
So we're joint 50-50. We have an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So although the little one's a little, he has a tough time leaving daddy. He's very attached to daddy, but it works for us, and the kids seem to be extremely happy. We did not have that in the beginning. In the beginning, it was I think more of the standard where it was first, third, and fifth, and our kids did not like it. Their dad's very involved, and it was hard for him to learn how to do like the daily things because I kind of did all that, but it works for our children emotionally, and like they just love being able to have a lot of time with both of us. So, but we're really flexible, as I'm sure you guys are too. You guys have a podcast, so you guys have to kind of rely on your ex-wives to help out, and same thing with him. If he has some kind of travel or I do, we just kind of switch up the schedule, and the kids are super good with it. Like they're fine with it.
Yeah. What are some tips that you found during the day? Because you work from home. I'm, similar to you, where I work from home most of the time anyways, and I have a pretty flexible job. What are some tips that you found helpful for your kids to both prioritize business, but also prioritize their work schedule, but also play schedule? Because they can't, like Evan and I were talking about in our last episode, you can't always just have your kids read for 2 hours or write for 2 hours, or, what are some things you do throughout the day to stay structured, but also flexible so that it's not just all work, but it's not all play.
Just like you said, like they have a schedule when they're in school. So
Yeah.
the first week was just, basically, honestly, spending some really good quality time together because
Yeah.
I have 3 boys. We're in sports. We had basketball season. So I have to admit it was kind of nice to like not have to do all of that and homework. But after
Yeah.
the first week, it was like me and my boyfriend's a very structured guy. I was like, we need a schedule. So we need the kids to get up, brush their teeth, have their breakfast, maybe get the wiggles out and go play. We have a little basketball hoop here. And then it was, okay, I always set them up. Like, I'm like, you're going to go play. And then in about 30 minutes, you're going to come in here and you're going to do a little work. So they always know and expect. So they're not like, oh, mom, it's like, no, this is our schedule. This is what we're doing. And then
Yeah.
obviously afterwards they're playing, and then we have some family time at nighttime. So it's a very structured schedule, even with this going on.
Is your boyfriend there to help out, or does he go to work?
Oh yeah. No, so he does travel for work. He's
Okay.
not used to being home this much, but so I'm glad that he still loves me. No.
Yeah.
Um, he actually tells me he loves being home more. You know, he actually travels 2 weeks out of the month for the whole week. So we're used to having I'm used to kind of taking care of kids sometimes on my own. But he's a lot of help. He really is. He's very understanding. He has conference calls all days, Mondays and Fridays, and the kids are one time my little one walked in and was complaining about my other one hitting him, and I'm like mortified. You know, he's the vice president of a company, and he's like, everyone's kids are home. Everyone understands. He helps out a lot, and we still got to get our workouts in and stuff. We're kind of like a team with that. He gets his in, I get mine in. He helps me out when I have to do something, and it's been going pretty well, to be honest. I don't know about you guys. How's your guys' life going? Is it kind of still hectic?
I was curled up in the fetal position, sucking my thumb about 20 minutes ago before the podcast. But other than that, things are fantastic.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah,
think both Drew.
it's hard. Go ahead, Evan. Go ahead.
I was to say, Drew's obviously. Can we say that you're in a relationship still?
Yeah, yeah. So
Ongoing?
yeah,
Okay.
as of right now, Julie, are we in a relationship? Yeah, we're good. We're still in a
Okay.
relationship, as
Yeah.
far as I know.
It's been tough, and I think typically we'd always split up the week, and so now we're doing 2 days on, 2 days off.
Oh wow.
For the foreseeable future, just for her, because it's my ex has work to do. She's got things that she needs to get done, as do I. And then I think our daughter was just really feeling the confines of being in one place for like 4 to 5 days and then switching things up. So we're trying 2 on, 2 off. It's been a challenge, to say the least. And honestly, like I'm my electric or gas bill this month might be $1 trillion because I just turned the pool on. I'm like, it's cold here in Sacramento, but I'm like, you're going swimming. Like, I don't care how much this
Same thing
costs.
here.
Like,
It's
you're getting in the pool.
jump in the pool, like but it's nice. It's just like, get out of my hair.
Yeah,
Anything
go
to keep
outside.
them active. But yeah,
Especially
it's been a challenge, and obviously the thing about it, and I love that you brought this up, right, is that people are very forgiving always, but even more so now. So it's like if you're on a conference call and the kids walk into the room and are yelling,
Yeah,
everybody's in the same boat right now.
yeah,
We're just trying to figure out we're trying to figure out our place as a species right now. So kids on a conference call are not a big deal.
like we're all under so much stress of the unknown. Like, what does our life look like in a few months? What is our kids' school like? What we don't know. So we're just trying to all like navigate this together in the unknown and keep the
yeah.
kids happy and blissfully unaware, because it is kind of scary what's going on, and just kind of keep chugging along.
Yeah, it's so true. And here's the thing, I will say this, like, actually I'm kind of in the same boat where I have a girlfriend that it does help me out. She still goes to work. So she's there in the morning, she's there in the evening to help out. But like, my heart goes out to all the single parents that don't have someone, that don't have a
Oh,
spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend to help out around the house. It's just you and your kids full time, like trying to balance work and your kids. Like, I can only imagine how hard that is for all the parents out there that don't have someone to help out, because you need a break. And sometimes your kids, like my girls are 8 and 10, like I can go put myself in timeout, like Evan said, in fetal position for 10 minutes and be cool because they can sustain themselves. But little kids that need attention all
yeah.
the time, like, man, I don't know how that would be really hard. Like, I could see why people's alcohol consumption would go up during
Oh
this
my
during
gosh.
this time, or food consumption.
Buy
Whatever your
stock in
vice is.
Netflix.
I saw someone that said, "I finished Netflix today." Like they finished
Yes.
all of Netflix.
I've seen quite a few really good memes, and me, my ex-husband, and my boyfriend have like a group meme, and we're just texting each
Yeah,
other, just trying to stay sane, these funny memes, because, like you said, like I realize that he's by himself, and it's so stressful, and that's why I've told him, hey, look, if you want to just drop him off on my week, and I'll teach them and have them do their schoolwork for an hour and a half, if that helps you get
yeah,
work done and also gives you peace of mind for a little bit, like just do it. I could do it. My job's flexible. So it's so important at this time to help everyone, help.
And these become the challenges. I love that you said that, Ashley, because really it's kind of back to this. It still takes a community, even though we might be divorced parents, it still takes a community. And the challenge is that community is scary right now. I've been thinking in the back of my head, I want a nanny to come over, a tutor to come over, but like, well, no, now I can't risk that,
Yeah.
right? So this is the ultimate effort in creativity. How do we socially distance ourselves so that we're staying safe, but then still create a space that we can work, that we can, educate our kids. I think one thing that's fun is that our school has put together a group Zoom call with all of the kids in her class. So once a week, all the kids are getting on a group Zoom call. It's pure anarchy. It's just chaos.
Chaos. You've seen
20 kids
seen
on
happy
26-year-olds on a Zoom call. It's like, okay, what's going to get done there? But she's
Exactly.
FaceTiming every day with friends. She's communicating with friends, but it's still a challenge every single day. So we're looking for any creativity, anything that you guys recommend. Obviously, Ashley would love some of the stuff that you're talking about, but anything that we can do to help keep ourselves as parents sane, and keep our kids from, I don't know, losing their shit.
Yeah.
Or mommy from losing her shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what's hard is navigating those waters of like us being frustrated, but our kids being frustrated, and we're all frustrated, just being more forgiving of each other. Like, hey, these are crazy times. Like, I can't take it personally if my kid has a freak out or they're upset at me. Like, I can't take it personally because they're going through stressful times too, because they can't see their friends or they can't play with their friends. And so I think just being more forgiving to yourself, more forgiving to your loved ones, because there's I saw some reports of domestic violence going up, and there might be a lot of babies made during this time, but there also might be a lot of divorces happening
Oh,
during this
yeah.
time as well.
Funny you say that. My boyfriend's like the most even keeled, does much like my ex-husband.
Yeah.
I'm a little more spicy, but I had left to go grocery shopping. I just said, look, I need to leave because I
Yeah.
was trying to take on a lot of the children on Mondays and Fridays. So he could do his work calls. He lost his shit, which
Yeah.
never happens, and he was very hard on himself. And I said, look, it happens. And the one thing you
Yeah.
got to know, as long as you can have a conversation with them and just say, look, I'm sorry, I freaked out, I'm very stressed out, and apologize, and still reprimand them, but just let them know that, like, that's, you have to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
And and the same thing, like you said with the children, like, they're stressed out too, they just show it in different ways.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we need to know when we just need to walk out of the room. And I keep thinking of that movie Crank with Jason Statham. Did you guys ever see that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a very
Like
high
where he
stress
has to
movie.
keep his heart rate up for some reason, and he goes to the hospital and he injects himself with 100 mgs of epinephrine, even though it's only supposed to be 10. And like you see him inject himself, and then he just goes sprinting out of this elevator in like in a hospital gown, half naked, screaming at the top of his lungs. Like that's how I felt yesterday, right? Like I'm just gonna go running naked down the street, screaming at the top of my lungs just to get out of the house. Interestingly enough, that might not be the first time that I've ever done that. So my neighbors would be like, "Oh, it's just Tuesday. What Evan's
Oh,
doing."
here we go. That's hilarious.
Me and my ex had this running joke that because of Fridays is when we switch the kids. It's like when he sees me on Friday and we switch the kids, I'm like, he's like,
Yeah.
you're done. And then it's the same. He goes up.
Tag, you're
I'm like,
in.
Yeah.
excited to see him again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So I got a question for you, Ashley. Between your boyfriend and your ex, how have there been issues where you've had to kind of how do you all stay on the same team? Has there been drama or issues where you've had to overcome them? Because it sounds like both of the guys are pretty non-dramatic and pretty even keeled. Like, how do you stay on the same team versus work? Like, is there have there been issues in the past, and have you worked through them? How do you kind of navigate those waters?
Honestly, I've been very lucky. No,
Okay.
there's been anything. It's just between me and my ex, which really doesn't even come up then. I mean, kind of waiting for this. I'm like, what's going to happen? It's too good to be true. And people
Yeah.
say that when they meet all of us. But I think it's like you said, you just have like this bigger picture of like what we want for our family and our kids and Eric, and we can't wait for Eric to actually find somebody so that I know my kids want that for him to have like a family relationship with him over there. And but no, we're actually pretty good. It kind of goes smoothly every week, and I think there are even talks of my ex playing on his softball team, so that'll be
There you
fun.
go. Yeah, okay, that
No,
sounds
that's
good.
cool. Well,
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I wish it was. Yeah, I wish that was just everyone's situation. You know.
I feel like that, unfortunately, that should be the norm, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes people a little longer time to get to that point. But I think we're all pretty happy, and it was a good thing that happened. It all kind of worked out.
It's very cool.
Yeah. Um. Sorry. Like we talked about kids coming in. My daughter just came in, and
Threw you off?
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, what was I gonna say?
What was I supposed to say here?
I think it's in the kitchen, Clay.
See,
Sorry.
this
I'm
is
so
great,
sorry to say
right?
this.
Now we can get a first-hand view of what kids in the house look like during a podcast.
I gave her my phone to text me on notes like, "Hey, what's your question?" Like, so it's like, oh, that's one of those situations, But I think most people are forgiving, these days. And I've seen some funny videos of like newscasters like trying to have a serious conversation about the coronavirus, and then their kid walks in naked, screaming like,
Oh,
they're trying to like, you know. So
That's honestly, it was a challenge to put on pants for this, and
I literally.
and it's entirely
put on
possible, since you
my
can only see from
workout
here up,
top.
that I didn't succeed.
I literally put on my workout top and I have my pajama like sweats on, and I was like, well, I wanted to put my leg up, so maybe I'll put some like real clothes on, which is just
yeah,
active wear leggings. But that's my idea of real clothes.
yeah. I
There
just
was,
threw a
what was
shirt
it?
on
I
for
think
this one.
3 days ago. Yeah, 3 days ago, I didn't put on clothes the entire day. You're like, and you get down to like dinner time, you're like, huh, is this healthy? Like,
When's it?
I
When's the
think
last time I washed my hair? I
I
washed
think
my hair for this.
a little suggestion if you want to laugh. A good friend of mine, JP Sears, the red-headed spiritual
Oh
guy,
yeah.
so funny. He's a good friend of mine. Him and his wife put out some really good content, and they're super hilarious. And they got some good stuff, especially during this time.
I watched
So
his
definitely go watch them.
parody. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I even showed it to my 11-year-old. He was laughing.
That's so funny. Well, Ashley, I love what you do, and I think you're a light for a lot of single parents out there. Where can people connect with you to learn more about you, your website, your social media, and to reach out to you?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm an online trainer, so I train women online and I have a community, and I have a website, ashleyKingFitness.com, and you can set up appointments to talk to me about your fitness goals or join the community. I also have my Instagram, which is Ashley King Fitness, and definitely very talkative on there, so if you ever send me a DM or something, I'd definitely get back to you.
Awesome. Well,
great. Well,
we really appreciate you coming on the Single Daddy Daily podcast, which isn't just for single dads, right, Evan?
it's not for single dads. We are a community of single parents doing our best to make sure that we raise kids, especially in this environment, that don't turn out to be lunatics.
Can we
That's our
say
goal.
Like, the goal of Single Daddy Daily is to make sure that over the next 6 to 12 months, as this whole thing plays out, that we're not all curled up in the fetal position sucking our thumb.
Yeah, we don't. None of us end up in prison, or our kids end up in prison, and we're all still alive. That's our goal.
Yeah. But more than that, obviously, we've talked a lot about it. As our goal is to create a community for all single parents, and there's so many resources out there. And how do you separate out the resources? How do you separate out the good, the bad from the completely meaningless? And so our goal has been to really not only tell our stories and talk about how vulnerability is a strength, as Drew likes to say, talk about how our mess becomes our message, like Drew likes to say, but how do we inspire people to make present parenting a function of their daily lives? How do we inspire people to extend that olive branch and be better co-parents with their ex? How do we create, as you've done, Ashley, an environment where our kids learn how to overcome struggles, overcome adversity, overcome conflict with another human being, and recognize that those are skills inherent to successful adulting as it is to successful being a successful kid. So as Drew said, we love what you've done, especially your story about how you've been able to, kind of manage this with your ex and your boyfriend and the community that you guys are building around your kids. That's fantastic. I think that's definitely an inspiration. And we couldn't be happier to have you a part of the Single Daddy Daily community.
Thank you so much. I really had a lot of fun talking to you guys.
Thanks so much, you guys. And for more of Single Daddy Daily, head over to singledaddydaily.com, check out our blog, and subscribe to our podcast. And feel free to share this with any other single parents that you think might need this. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next week on Single Daddy Daily.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.